Let's verify trigonometric identities that use the sum or difference formulas. For example, let's verify the following identity. Now we see on the left that we have cosine of a difference. So let's recall the difference formula for cosine. The difference formula for cosine is that the cosine of A minus B is equal to cosine of A times cosine of B plus sine A times sine B. And we'll use that here. In other words, the left-hand side here is cosine of x, cosine of 3 pi halves, plus sine x times sine of 3 pi halves, which is equal to cosine of x times, now cosine of 3 pi halves is 0, and then plus sine x times the sine of 3 pi halves, which is negative 1. And cosine x times 0 is 0, and therefore we're left with negative sine of x, which is our right-hand side. And so we verified this trig identity. All right, let's see another one. Let's verify this identity. Now we see here on the left that we have sine of a difference. So let's recall the difference formula for sine. We have that sine of A minus B is equal to sine of A times cosine of B plus cosine of A times sine of B, which we will use here. In other words, this is equal to sine of x cosine of y minus cosine x sine y, all divided by cosine of x times cosine of y. Now let's divide each term in the numerator by the denominator. In other words, this is equal to sine x cosine y divided by the denominator, the cosine x, cosine y, and then minus cosine x sine y divided by the denominator cosine x, cosine y. And now on this first fraction, the cosine y's will cancel. And on the second fraction, the cosine x's cancel. And we're left with sine x divided by cosine x minus sine y divided by cosine y, which is equal to sine x over cosine x is tangent x. And sine y divided by cosine y is tangent y, which is exactly the right-hand side. And so we verified this identity. And these are some examples of how we verify trig identities using sum and difference formulas. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.